Well, a poll out yesterday from Suffolk University shows Clinton with a 9-point lead in Pennsylvania. That is impressive over Trump. Look at this, 50 to 41. We're going to see if that is in line with other polls. It is a bit above the others, but not far above the average, which is about 7, I guess. And the latest poll out of Ohio from Public Policy Polling shows the race tied there at 45%. So ordinarily, Trump's got to win Ohio, then win Pennsylvania. Anyway, and Trump has a path to the 27 votes. To do it, he has to pick up one. Well, he's got to pick up both of those states. Joining me right now to talk about the path forward for these two campaigns are Democratic strategist Steve McMahon and Republican strategist John Braber. Let's try to be analytical here and not totally rosy or dismal. John, it seems to me that Trump to win has to hold Arizona, North Carolina, then begin to pick up new states. He's got to begin to pick up Ohio because Republicans don't win it without it. And then Pennsylvania, then work his way up either to Florida or to Michigan and Wisconsin. Do you see it differently?
No, I think that's absolutely right. If you look at it, he first has to win everything Romney won. If he can't do that, mathematically he can get there, but symptomatically he can't because it means he's losing some of the type of voters that he needs to get. Yeah. So you start there. Second of all, you can look at it and say, well, but he can win Colorado, Nevada, Iowa, New Hampshire. That's really hard. What he has to do is go to what always been referred to as the Rust Belt. Ohio, obviously, he has to win. I think he has to win Pennsylvania and Florida. I don't know how you get there. Maybe Wisconsin.
Okay, I agree with that. How do you look at that? Just look at that. Just look at that. Hold what he's got with the Democrats.
Right.
I'm sorry, what the Republicans had. Hold that. Hold on to Romney's numbers. Hold Arizona and North Carolina, which are tricky. And then begin to pick up a state. They always need Ohio.
Right.
And then pick up Pennsylvania, and then jump down and try to hold Florida, even with all the diversity down there.
I think you guys are right. That's really the only path. And that's
Florida, let's go to the deal breaker, the necessary, if not sufficient, condition to winning this whole thing in mathematical terms. How does a guy who's ran against Mexicans, pretty much smeared them, get Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, and Cuban Americans in Florida, and Black Americans, African Americans? How does he get them to not kill them?
The paradox of Donald Trump is when he appeals to one group, he alienates another group. And I believe it's come down to two things. In states like Pennsylvania and Ohio, he's got to win blue collar, the sons and daughters of Reagan Democrats. Yeah. That's number one.
They're great people. I mean, they just are very unhappy with the Democratic Party right now.
And they agree with him on trade, on immigration, on foreign policy, on manufacturing, all those things.
And stupid wars.
But he also has to get moderate Republican women who are college educated, who Romney won. And that's a bigger lift in some ways, and so that's the paradox of him.
Women who may not vote the same as their husbands.
That's right.
I mean, you can see the classic Carville case of the family, husband and wife, go to vote and waste the gas because they're voting against each other. I can imagine a guy in the suburbs being ticked off enough and maybe sharing some of this Rust Belt attitude, and the woman saying, you know, this guy on abortion, this guy on gays, this guy, not gays, but other issues, social issues, he's just bad.
Right. That's what's happening, and those are some of the people that Barack Obama.
On race, I'm sorry. A lot of to generalize, you and I all know, we all know this. When you talk about race, you're not just talking about how it affects minorities who don't want to hear the negative stuff. There are certain whites who may be very conservative, but they cannot stand being seen as racist.
Yeah, you're right.
Even if they have a bit of it.
And that's one of the reasons. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the ad. I'm sure you have the ad that the Clinton campaign or one of the super PACs is running about our children are watching.
Yeah,
and the women who are going to be the swing voters in this thing and who are probably going to determine the outcome are looking at that ad and they're saying that's exactly right. Many men are
making fun of the guy with the handicap, which every suburban family is familiar to, either learning disabilities or handicaps. Because I mean, these parents live with neighbors with kids like that with problems, not Alzheimer's, but kids with autism and people, things like that. Everybody has a health problem among kids in their neighborhood, and they don't think it's funny.
That's right. And when you say that's not the kind of country we are, that's not the kind of country we've ever been, and that's not the kind of country we want to be, people agree with it. One of the things that I think Donald Trump is doing now is he's sort of doubling down on the insult brigade, and he's appealing more deeply to the people he's already got. Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama especially are reaching across the middle to people who want to believe in America. It's a better place.
I'm not sure I agree.
Can they grab Republicans?
I don't think so. In fact, you know, look, I was watching her speech last night, and it was, I'm not just progressive, I'm even more progressive. I even go more progressive. Oh, time out. Oh, yeah, you in the middle who are sort of moderate, I'm with you too. But now I'm back to be more...
And let me take a look. We got a new poll tonight, came out this week, in the field this week, out tonight from Reuters, Ipsos, has Clinton with a 5-point advantage over Trump nationally, 40-35. So that's her bump. It's a good
That's
bump.
the natural state of this race. If you look at this race in terms of its underlying structure, well, actually, I think it probably is going to last because
5 points?
The underlying structure of this race should be about a 5 or 6 point advantage for Hillary Clinton. And they're sort of elastic, and Trump sort of moved a little bit.
Even after he's bedding down with Putin against Hillary, he's still only 5 points down. That's the...
But wait a minute, here's the thing. She's the incumbent in this race. I don't care what anybody says. She is the status quo incumbent. If she stays down around 40 and she hovers there and he can stay at 35 for a while, at some point he's going to pick up and she's got real problems.
So undecided means Trump?
I think so. I think if they haven't decided to vote for Hillary Clinton...
Let me ask you both a big question. How big will the total vote of Jill Stein, Green Party, and Gary Johnson, Libertarian, what will be the total vote come election day, do you think?
7.
Total vote?
7.
Well, then Hillary wins.
I think it'll probably be closer to about 5.
Oh my God! Total vote.
Yeah, I think this is.
So there's no Ross Perot year.
I think this is going to be one of those races. People are going to be dying to make a decision. I want to be with Hillary. I want to be with
Trump. You guys agreeing on that means a lot to me.
Well, I thought a lot. So I just go with what he says.
The biggest thing, if I were Hillary people, if I were John Podesta and the rest of them, I'd say we don't want people voting for Jill Stein. Period. We don't want any votes for that because that's all our votes. And half, I think, the votes going to Libertarian Gary Johnson could well be Democrats.
But one of the problems with these polls is if you don't have that third line in there or the fourth line in there, which is going to be on the ballot in most places, then you don't have a poll that's going to reflect the ballot.
I think well, they're not going to get in the debates without 15. Anyway, Steve McMahon, I like when you guys agree because it means there may be real truth there. Thank you, John.